All right, so before we get started on Greg, obviously been a very memorable day in the Berry household. So I want to just take a little bit of time just to, number one, say thank you to all the staff at University Hospital, St. John's Medical Center. Give a shout out to my wife, Britton, who's a trooper, and then just say hi to my new baby girl, Eden. It's been a whirlwind of a day, but a really, really positive one for my family. So Greg, he was one of the guys that we targeted throughout the draft process. Think he fits really our profile for the Cleveland Browns. Here's a player who was really a multi-year producer in a Power 5 conference, great physical talent. He's one of the youngest guys in the draft class, despite how much he accomplished at the college level. And he fits the smart, tough, accountable profile that we want out of our players that we really bring in the building. So we're excited to add him to the team. Looking forward to getting him on campus, so to speak. And with that, we'll open up for questions.
Thank you, AB. Our first question goes to Jake Trotter.
Yeah, hey guys, were you surprised that Greg fell to you at 26? It seemed like he had the potential to go a lot higher.
You know what? We had a feeling that he might be in the ballpark of our pick. I think if you probably polled everybody within our group, there might be a little bit of a 50-50 split. So, we thought he might fall within striking distance. We by no means were sure, but obviously we were pretty happy to take him once we knew he was going to be available.
Andrew, how tired are you today?
I'm running on pure adrenaline right now, Jake.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Next up is Nate Ulrich.
Hey, congratulations, Andrew. And I just wanted to ask you, with Newsome, what specific traits about him as a corner do you really like and think that will fit Joe Woods and what he does?
I think one of the things that appealed to us about Greg was that we thought he was one of the more well-rounded corners in the class. Obviously, he has the size, length, and speed that is probably every team wants at the position. But here's a guy who can play press effectively. They played a heavy dose of zone and off man in Northwestern, which he was able to do effectively, and he makes plays on the ball. And even then, he's tough in run support. So what we liked is that from our perspective, there wasn't a major discernible hole, within his skill set. He has a high level of competency across all areas that we value at the quarterback position.
Thanks, Nate. Mary Kay Cabot, you're up.
Yeah, Andrew, can you just maybe address, I think, the question that is on a lot of people's minds right now, and what will his role be, and what might this mean for Greedy, who's working so hard to come back from his nerve damage in his shoulder?
Yeah. So in terms of role, that's really a decision of Kevin and the coaching staff. Really this pick has no, reflection or bearing on Greedy. From our perspective, that's, cornerback is a group where we want to be deep. And we want to have a lot of guys that can cover. I think we saw the value of having really good cover corners, last year. And, that's an area where we want to be deep over time. So that has no reflection whatsoever on Greedy's recovery or our faith in him.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it, Mary Kay. We'll go to Scott Petrick.
Hey guys, congrats, Andrew. I know Greg talked about having a chip on his shoulder, and some of his teammates did. How much do you like that about him, that he wants to be the best and says he is the best corner?
Yeah, we definitely want guys who are intrinsically motivated and highly competitive and driven to be great. And we feel like in the time that we did spend with Greg throughout the pre-draft process and who we talked to at Northwestern, we certainly felt like he fit that mold.
Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Daryl Ryder, you're up.
Hey, Andrew, congratulations again. Just wanted to ask you about the medicals. I think I read he had 3 straight years where he had an injury that forced him to miss time. And obviously this being a different year, just how comfortable, obviously you were comfortable with the medical situation, but how much did you look at that?
That's something that we always look at. We were very comfortable with it. Our medical staff, our orthopedic staff was very comfortable with it. Look, he was a little bit banged up, but this is also a guy that started since his true freshman year. And quite honestly, he's 20 years old on draft day, so he's still really kind of growing into his body and growing into his frame. But that's not something that we had major reservations, and more importantly, that's not something that our docs had major reservations on.
And since this was supposed to be a question for Kevin, Kevin, can you just answer what was asked earlier? How does he fit with your football team now?
Yeah, I think, all the points that Andrew hit. I mean, he fits culturally, being smart, tough, and accountable. He fits schematically. He's got the body type to play man, to play zone. He makes plays on the ball. There's a lot of things about his game that we're really excited about.
Thanks, Daryl. Dan Lobby has our next question.
Hey, congrats, Andrew. I got a question for each of you. Andrew, you've mentioned his age twice, that he's 20 years old. How important is that in the process for you guys, that age of a guy?
It's something that we take into consideration. I don't mean that to say that we overweight it, but for us, when you look at Greg, he's still I think he's one of maybe the 10 or 15 youngest players in the draft, and has 3 years of high level production in a major conference. That's something that you just typically don't see for very, very many players in any given draft class. So that's just something that I point out because I think it is a little bit unique with Greg in particular, as opposed to something that's maybe always top of mind, if that makes sense.
And then for Kevin, I actually asked Andrew this last week. Do you feel like with the talent now in this defense that this really kind of fits what Joe Woods wants to do on that side of the ball?
I think, Dan, if you go through free agency, and obviously we're only one round into this, we're trying to add players at every level of the defense, certainly on offense and with special teams in mind. So we're just trying to add players wherever the opportunity presents itself. This happened to be a really, really good fit for us. And obviously, like we've talked about before with Joe, with some of the guys we've been able to add through free agency, it should give us an element of versatility and allow some different things to open up. But for this moment, for the round one, to get a player of Greg's caliber, it's an exciting time for us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Marla Ridenour, go ahead.
Yeah, congratulations, Andrew. This is for either one of you. What stood out about Greg, like personality, character-wise? Sounds like he might have a few kind of leadership traits. Just wondered if anything you could share on that front.
Yeah, I think for me, when we went through the interview process with Greg, it was really his intelligence, like really just his mastery of the defensive system at Northwestern, and not just his role, but roles across the secondary. He could really kind of walk through everything, almost reflexively. And that's something that certainly I found very impressive.
And the fact that he didn't, I think he only had one interception or something. Does that concern you that he's not a big time, takeaway guy, or can he grow into that?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily read into that. Like, he was still a pretty significant, ball producer. Like, I want to say, like, Jalen Ramsey, he may have had like 1 or 2 picks in his college career, something along those lines. Part of it is just the coverage of the technique that they may be playing may not necessarily always be conducive to high interception totals. But one of the things that we do like about Greg is his ability to find the ball and ultimately play the ball down the field.
How many picks did you have in college?
I had 5.
Good to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Marla. Tony Grossi.
You knew that right away.
That's ready to go.
Andrew, congratulations on your big night.
Thank you, Tony.
Was there any point in the day where you felt the need to talk about moving up, or was the board falling exactly the way you mocked it?
We fielded calls in really both directions, Tony, and that's pretty typical with any draft. Really, as the board fell, there are a number of players that we liked within the range that we were picking. So ultimately, we felt comfortable kind of sweating it out, so to speak, as Greg fell to us. But yeah, it's something we certainly explore throughout the year.
And just wondering, did you have Farley as a first round draftable player?
Good question, Tony, but I won't share what we had in terms of our draft.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. We'll go back to Nate Ulrich.
Hey guys, when we got to talk to Pat Fitzgerald on the Pro Day Zoom circuit last month, he emphasized Greg's demeanor on and off the field. And I was just wondering if anything about his demeanor struck you and how big of a factor that might have been.
Yeah, I don't think in general demeanor will necessarily weigh heavily for us. I think there are other things that we consider more when we're looking at a prospect. But one thing that is striking with Greg is he is pretty laid back, off the field. Obviously very respectful. But when he's on the field, he really does flip a switch. Very, very confident, highly competitive. Which is something that we love to see.
And then because this was the second year in a row you couldn't have guys in for the top 30 visits. Like, how extensive was the meeting time with him? Like, were there, X amount of Zoom calls or number of hours? And how deep were you guys able to get with him and get
without going into specifics, Nate, enough to feel like we knew the player well. And that's not intended to be a cute answer. It really does depend on prospect to prospect. For us, we will weight more heavily the reference work that we do, our scouts do, our coaches do, with people who have been with these prospects every day, and in Greg's case for the last 3 seasons. That's something that will weigh more heavily than an hour-long Zoom call.
Thanks, Nate. We're going to take 3 more. Jake Trotter, Mary Kay Cabot, Scott Petrick. Jake.
Hey guys, when you factor in the opt-outs, the guys that missed all of last season with injury, all the moves you made in free agency, getting a premier corner in the draft, what is the upside for improvement with this defense with 7, 8, 9, 10 guys that are new? They're going to be playing key roles for you all next year.
I'll let Kevin take that one.
Kevin.
I thought this was your press conference. Jake, I think we recognize that we've brought in guys in free agency. Again, we're just one round into this, but we're not going to focus on anything outside of the here and now. And we know we've added some players. It's going to be a great competition on the roster, but what that means for the fall, we got a lot of work to do before we get there.
Thanks, Jake. Mary Kay, go ahead.
Yeah, either of you could answer this, but early on in the draft, when the Bengals took Jamar Chase, were you eyeing Greg Newsome maybe even a little more and thinking, boy, we really could use him or whatever cornerback? But did that solidify in your mind that how important it is to have another guy like this? And then later after that, the Ravens picked Bateman. So Greg will come in handy, right?
No, he's only. Well, I can't say that had any bearing on our decision, but you're right. You look at our competitors in the AFC North, and 3 good young players entered our division tonight. So certainly kudos to those organizations, and we're going to have our hands full.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Kay. Our final question goes to Scott Petrick.
Hey, Kevin, I get what Andrew was saying about trusting the guys that have known Greg the longest, but did you spend some quality Zoom time with him in the run-up to this?
Yeah, Scott, just with all these guys, we spent some quality Zoom time. Andrew, a ton, our scouts, a ton, our coaches. So, as we're showing right here, it's amazing what you can get accomplished virtually. And we felt really, really comfortable with the person. The tape is your resume, and we obviously dug into the tape, and like Andrew referenced, the reference work we did, and then just getting to know the kid, feel extremely comfortable with the person that we're bringing into the fold.